Alright, it's Deviacon here. Got a new review, new custom figure to show off for you. This is a original character, and those of you might be looking at this and saying, "The fuck is that giant pile of crap?" That's exactly what I want you to think. As a customizer, I end up with a lot of just random scrap parts of various figures, and you know, what's the obvious thought there? What do I do with all this random crap? My initial thoughts, make a Junkion. So, or a Scrapbot, however you want to look at it. Anyway, this figure, this character, I named Scrapyard. As you can see, I was messing around with a lot of different names at first, but I think Scrapyard turned out to be a very good one because of how his overall vehicle mode ended up looking like just a giant vehicle, just a, moving pile of junk. And I know from the direct side there you kind of see how raised it is with the port, but, looking at it from a slightly tilted angle, it all looks pretty good. And, it's not like you're ever going to be really looking at it like that. Anyway, there are, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 pieces for this figure that have MechTech ports, 5mm ports. And I'm going to begin to show them to you. First of all, I want to take some of this stuff off and show you Scrapyard bare bones with no junk piles on him. And that is this. Those of you who can guess, this was a, I guess it depends on how you want to look at it. It was Bludgeon, a Deluxe Bludgeon, who came with a, Masters of Metalico, or whatever the hell it's called, for, it was him and a Redux of Blackout that was Whirl. Originally, this mold was, I believe, Wreckage. I don't even remember what line he was in. But now I think when they redid Wreckage and named him Bludgeon, they did pretty good with the color scheme. I actually didn't end up changing that much of his original color scheme. I really just went over it with dry brush and rust and mud. And as you can see here, I did put on a lot of just random scrap pieces. You can see the grill there, just, little pieces here. Got some tubing going up there. And ended up adding, got a port there in the back and a port there on top. Originally he had this gun here, took that off because, well, I figured I could use it for other pieces, and unfortunately, for those of you who really liked how Wreckage was, I did take his gun swords, because, again, I really liked those, and I think I'm going to use them for something else. But you got a bunch of other stuff here in exchange for that, so I think that kind of balances out. Call me crazy. So, first off, before I get into before I get into Scrapyard, I want to show you his scrap piles. Because, honestly, they're what make the figure to me, in my humble opinion. But, what do I know? I only made the damn thing. I'm so arrogant. So, yeah, I got one piece here that's, like a crane hook chain. So, there is your central junk pile for Scrapyard. And I did give him the gun that was from Roadbuster, because, well, as an original character here, gave him a background story that was, he's a Junkion who's never very good at reconstructing himself, so, to make up for that, he took the form of an armored vehicle and started collecting as much junk as possible to use as armor. And, eventually, one day he, when the other Junkion sided with the Autobots, he was suspicious. He took Megatron's side. He saw Megatron as like a warrior god, and he wanted to follow him and wanted to approve of him. And that actually brings me to this that I wanted to point out. Very poorly sketched on there. It's an etched Decepticon emblem there. Really, not that great, but, well, what do you want from Junkion? So anyway, the story that I wanted to continue on there was, eventually he started, fighting more and more and honing his skills. And as a Junkion and as a collector of scrap pieces, he began taking trophies. So I believe that that was a very good thing to do, was give him the chainsaw, and I, made it nice and rusty there. Anyway, let me show you these. So there's the one junk pile. All of his stuff in one junk pile. Now, I'll begin breaking this apart and showing you the 6 individual pieces. Technically, this is 1, so 5 pieces in here. Anyway, first piece here, come on, is his crane hook. I just like to use this. I like to put this on his left hand. And that was the other really cool thing that I saw about that hook. I ended up having to sculpt myself. Couldn't find any random hook pieces in all my fodder parts, ironically. I forget what I was saying. Oh, that's right. The main reason I originally wanted to make this figure into a Junkion was I discovered that all 8 of his wheels, those center pieces, are 5mm. You can fit a MechTech peg or, any 5mm port, which all of these are, into every single one of his wheels. Which, in vehicle mode, looks retarded, but in robot mode, you'll see. Anyway, so there's his grappling hook. The figure itself also has 2 MechTech ports on the underside of his forearms, and his hands fit that. Granted, I took one of his hands off, so you'll see. So here are the 2 smaller pieces of junk. This one is just pretty basic. It's pretty small. Nothing really there. There's his port. This one, a little bit different, has its port there too. It was made from a piece that had a joint in there, and I just didn't fix it. I figured that could have worked for something, so there you go. The other important thing, that piece, MechTech port, 5mm port. And that's what I think is really cool, is all these junk pieces have a bunch of those 5mm ports that fit into each other. That's really what makes this fun. So then we got this cannon here. This cannon, just giant ass cannon. I did not grab the missile for this. I do still have the missile for this. It really should be in there, but I just didn't grab it. And then the big piece of junk pile, which I like to use as a shield for him. And what's really cool about this is, the port there is right in the center. What's really cool about this is, you got a port there, and port there. So as you saw, all those junk pieces fit in just nicely into one big piece. So you can have them, why you'd want to have them all separately, but you can. And then, just put them into one big junk pile, throw them on him when he's in vehicle mode. But enough about that. I'll push those aside for a sec. Let me get the transformation, which will only take just a moment because his transformation is very simple, and I've done it several times over the past week or 2. Funny thing, I originally sought out to make a Junkion to sell, but I've had so much fun with this. I don't know if I want to. I'm still deciding, because I love playing with all of his junk parts. It's just so much fun, because you can do so much with them. They're so versatile. Go. One sad thing about when I did this figure was when I took that gun off, it pushed into a little tab where one of those MechTech ports now is, that essentially kept his entire upper body together. Not really together, but it falls down without it. You'll go to twist the arms and you'll just start doing that Mech Alive thing without the gun holding it all in place. But you can still kind of push it in there and you get it. Now let me move the camera here just a little bit so you can actually see Scrapyard here. Don't fall over. There we go. It's working pretty well, surprisingly. So yeah, let me get a nice close-up view of his face there, if I can get it. That was another thing, another problem the actual figure had, was that his face, or his entire head, just kind of stooped down a lot. Can't really see it very well. Painted his eyes red. There you go, a little bit better. You know, more just steel dusting. Dry brush. I need to stop doing that. I've always called it dusting for some reason, but the proper term is dry brush. Originally, this gun here, giant cannon, was translucent purple. I just painted it because translucent doesn't really fit with Junkion figure, in my opinion, anyway. And well, I might as well start throwing all of his crap on him. Oh, that's right. One more thing, real quick, is his awesome. Took his left hand off. He now has a claw. That claw was taken from a top spin, shaved down, so it could, fit when he's in vehicle mode. And the cool thing is all of his junk parts, that becomes part of his shoulder pad. Just kind of all around the place. So anyway, I should get to throwing his stuff on him in, I guess one of the ways I like to. So I like to put his crane hook on his left forearm. Fits right in there. And the nice thing is the chain, you can just wrap it around. Actually, I did that the wrong direction. I say that because, yeah, this way. Wow, this is... Okay. Because when done right, the hook just sits very nicely in there and doesn't get in the way of anything else. So you can do that. You can see it's just moving around. Go ahead and leave that out for some kind of pose of some kind, like putting the chainsaw gun on his right forearm. I like keeping the chainsaw out. I also thought about just changing it so it wasn't a gun chainsaw mech tech weapon, it was just a chainsaw. And the nice thing about putting it in there with next to his wheels is it kind of holds the chainsaw in place, because I take all the springs out of the mech tech weapons, so as you can see that kind of holds it nicely there. Yeah. Stupid piece. Anyway. And big shield piece, I like to put, it doesn't really matter with the shield because it's so big. It looks more like a shield on the very outer wheel. And the nice thing about those ports is when you force a 5mm port into those wheels, it stiffens them up so they don't spin quite as freely. This one is also centered really well, so you can kind of just pose it however you want. And I guess if you really wanted to, you could throw all the other junk on that one shield, making it like a massive shield, but I like to go a little bit more. So let's see here. I'll put one piece of junk on his right arm here. Almost to the left. Retarded. And just another one on his leg, just cuz. And then why not throw the cannon in his right hand? So now he's all armed to the teeth. Now, what I find really awesome is this figure was very well made, so even with all this additional crap on him, he stands freely just fine. Better than a lot of figures stand, even without all this added crap on them. So, yeah, take that. Another thing I really like to do, you might want to take that port out, or that cannon out of his hand. I kind of like doing this, I throw the chain over his one hand. He's about to lasso somebody or some crap like that. And in the pictures I'm going to end up taking of him, there's this one pose that he has that I have messed around with that I really like doing. So where he has, poor suspecting Autobot wrangled with this, and then I was about to take the chainsaw to him. But the cool thing is that one port that on his vehicle mode was on the very back is now, well, still on his back. So I like putting the cannon there. So, it also kind of works as a counterbalance should you actually have problems with balancing. And even better is that it can just pop up and be like a giant fuck you cannon. So, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about all the possibilities you could do with this because of all the ports and all the extra pieces I made with pegs. You know. Oh crap, I really hooked that. How funny is that? You know, that giant shield, if you don't like it, it stores just fine on his back and tucks away just fine because of the distance in the peg, and you can still put the cannon there. You can do so many things with this. You know, take that piece of armor off his leg, put it on his other arm. The possibilities with this are not necessarily endless. I always hated that saying because, anyway. But yeah, the possibilities here, not necessarily endless, but they are quite vast. You know, you got a Junkion who takes trophy pieces, and, you know, he's got like, 8, 10, 12, 13 ports. Yeah. I guess there's really not that much else I needed to say about him. It's just, you know, there's Scrapyard in all of his junky glory. And again, I really don't know if I'm going to end up selling him or just end up keeping him. You know, if I do end up selling him, I will definitely post that, let you guys know. But once again, Deviacon here. Thank you for watching. There is original figure Scrapyard.